welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, and to a very special book review today. Yes, I say it all the time because it always is. If you hang around booktube, I know that you're going to know our author today, Priscilla Bettis. If you are a booktuber, I know you're going to know our author today because she is a huge supporter of booktube. And when she reached out to me and said, hey, I'd like for you to read my new book, of course I jumped all over it. I cherish any opportunity I have to give back to someone who supports the community that I hold so dear, like Priscilla does. So yes, today's book is by Priscilla Bettis, and it is Dog Meat. Now I know what you're thinking. I thought the same thing. Dog meat. It kind of makes you go, right? Right? Well, it did me too. You guys know I'm a huge animal lover, especially dogs. My dog Xander is my whole world. I love him to death. Animal stuff is not something I can usually dabble in. But hear me. Priscilla is a woman after my own heart because she told me why she wrote a book like this. And it was to call attention to the plight of dogs that go through things like this. I'm going to mention a festival that is, I think, somewhat infamous, and that is the Yulin Festival, which is a dog meat festival. This book is loosely centered around that. I say loosely. The name of that festival features in a diner, and of course we have the slaughter of dogs. That is about where that ends. The actual setting of the book, I feel like, is a very good, by the way, very good. The settings, if you've read things like The Vegetarian or Junji Ito, I feel like I got a lot of those same flavors from the way the setting was portrayed. However, it takes place in the late 80s, but it is in a very fictionalized colony, to use their words. The modern colony is what they refer to themselves as. And there are a lot of rules in place in this colony that are kind of harkening back to like almost your sci-fi, like dystopian, you know, we're trying to make the perfect place for humans kind of deal. If you're familiar with anything like that, I feel like you get what I'm saying. I was put in mind very much of like a totalitarian kind of government deal, because the government in this book controls everything. Their news, what they eat, where they live, what jobs they have. And that is really one of the catalysts of the action, because you have this young man who is in a job as a slaughterer of dogs for a restaurant for their meat, and he wants to leave this job. And you kind of see how this affects him. You know, he is kind of almost driven mad in certain ways, but then you also have this very normal life that he lives with very human problems, and it's done so incredibly well. And you see how having to play this role that he was not meant for affects him and affects everyone around him. The way this society is set up, it is so believable. You know, it has so many elements of, you know, like bratty kids and, oh, I hate my job and stuff like this. But then it has these elements of, well, we're only allotted 1 meal a day. Oh, well, we can only drink boiling water. You see what I'm saying? Like very dystopian, like colony, really. Like, you know, the government controls your ass kind of deal. And Priscilla marries those two things so well. It is so believable. At not any point in this book was I like, wow, this is very sci-fi. No, this is very, very believable. So to me, this book accomplished what a book like Cows was trying to do. I know I'm very critical of Cows because I don't feel like it really presented its story well, and that it had a lot of like, wow, look how gross this is. This book accomplished it. It had a terrible premise, the killing of dogs. However, this was taken as like a catalyst for the horror about how it affected this man. And then you had the mundane, this man's life married to it. And I don't know about you guys, but when that happens, when you have this horrific and the mundane married together and it's done well, it just adds to the story. You know, because it brings that horror kind of down to earth. It makes it more real, like, wow, maybe this could happen. You know, Priscilla accomplished that. Yes, there were some horrific scenes that I really struggled to get through as an animal lover, as a dog lover. Priscilla warns me about that, and I'm going to warn you. Yes, there are some terrible scenes in here. However, they are not like, wow, look how gross this is. They are part of the story. They are there to illustrate the horror of this boy's life. And I say boy, he's a young man. Of this young man's life. And how he is controlled, how that affects the human animal, the whole nine. This horror, this terrible, awful thing that this book is about, dog meat, it really serves as like a catalyst for the action. The true horror, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the true horror is really not there. That is like your tinge of body horror, if you will. Your blood and guts, that's where you get that. But that's not what it's about. This is the story of a man who is incredibly depressed, unhappy, and how everything around him is affecting him. It is not a happy ending. It is probably not going to end where you think it will. It is one of those endings that is like abrupt and fast, and you're like, whoa. When this novella finished, and it is only about 120 pages, I want to say, I kind of felt myself let go of a breath. Like I was holding my breath because I didn't know what was going to happen to this man. And what ends up happening to him, even though it's terrible, it's almost like you feel okay because, you know, it was kind of the ending he would have wanted, if that makes sense. Again, I think Priscilla did an absolutely amazing job. And you're talking to someone who doesn't even eat meat. And I enjoyed this book. It was tough. It was horrifying. But if you've read The Hay Bell, which is Priscilla's short story that I reviewed and a number of others have reviewed, you know Priscilla has it in her to scare the pants off of you. She's not afraid of blood, guts, and gore. But I've said this about a few other authors in my time. There are some authors that are really adept at writing horror, at marrying the mundane to it. Priscilla can do that. She showcases that in this. So don't let the title scare you. Now, that being said, if you cannot handle any kind of bad things happening to a dog, it's probably not for you. But I'm here to tell you, yes, there are some bad scenes, but they are not the bulk of the book. Okay? They are not. And they're not the focus even, really. I was really put in mind of a lot of the amazing Asian authors I've read, particularly The Vegetarian, which that review will be coming out very shortly. And how there's a catalyst for the action and almost like a center of the action, but then this whole story revolves around it. That's kind of the vibe I got from Priscilla's book. So don't let it scare you, but keep in mind that if this is a touchy point for you, it might not be for you. I'm telling you though, this book is amazing. Priscilla did an absolutely amazing job really leveling out this book, making it believable and yet horrific at certain points. You know, it's kind of a ride, and I love that. I love that. I think it takes a lot of talent to make the mundane horrifying, and Priscilla did that in a beautiful way, absolutely amazing way. I was left really wanting more. As terrible and horrific as it was, I was left wanting more. I wanted to know more about these people. I was sucked into these characters. And I really think it speaks to her level as an author when you can really lose yourself in a book that initially you were like, I don't know if I can do this. So, dog meat. Guys, please, I will have Priscilla's information down below. If you do not know who she is, I'm here to tell you she's an amazing person. She literally supports everybody on BookTube. All of them, myself, everybody. You just click on a BookTube video. Chances are there's a comment from her underneath there. So she is an amazing person. I'm humbled that she decided to send this book to me. I really have no words for that. It's always amazing. It always feels like Christmas. And the idea that I get to give a little bit of love back to Priscilla, who gives so much love to the rest of us, of course I'm going to do it. So guys, that is it. Please, if you like this, hit like, hit subscribe. It would really help me out. And don't forget to check out Priscilla down below. I will have all that linked. And until next time, bye for now.